yesterday. Yeah. So we will continue from the last week. Last week discussion. Last week we were talking about the description of the Pure Land. So we discussed about the some of the Pure Lands of the Buddhas. So today, we will continue with discussion on the Pure Land. So today we will talk about the causes which the causes to take the rebirth in the Pure Land, to take the birth in the Pure Land. So we will talk about some of the states, states. There are few states that we are able to take the birth in the Pure Lands, right? So for example, in this very life, if we do practice some of the, for example, like Sukhavati, Buddha Amitabha's in the practice, then or if we are able to practice the Buddha Matriya or Tara or Avalokiteshvara. So any kind of Buddha, we are able to take the birth in this Pure Land. So the thing is that we do engage in some kind of practice, the deity practice, for example, like Amitabha prayer. Amitabha is well known in China, also in Vietnam, and also in Tibet. Yeah, the practice of Amitabha is well known. So when we engage in this, Amitabha practice, so what it really happens is that we are able to store, we are able to plant the seed, the seed within our mind, within our mind stream. So when the death strike, when the death approach, so then when the karma, to take the birth in the Pure Land like Sukhavati is activated. So when this karma is activated in this way, we are able to take the birth in the Sukhavati. In fact, of all the many Pure Lands, of all the different kinds of Buddha's Pure Land, taking the birth in the Sukhavati's Pure Land is pretty easier and convenient than any other, taking the birth in any of the Buddha's Pure Land. So there are a few reasons which I will not go into detail today, and so this is one way of taking the birth in the Pure Land. Then and then another way of taking the birth in Pure Land is also engaging in the Pho practice. Pho, Pho is also well known, So, so when we do the Pho practice, what is the time, the time for doing the Pho practice, the exact time for doing the Pho practice is when the breathing stops. when the breathing stops, then the power is to be done, power is to be conducted. Earlier than doing the power before the breathing stop, if we do this in that way, that is that is not a right way of doing the power, right? So only after when our breathing stops, then power is done. So in this way, we are able to take the birth in the the Pure Land. For example, like there are some masters who did demonstrated the power practice. Uh, for example, like in the case of the great master Mapa, before he passed away, he did make his concert Tangmema dissolve into the light. So with this light, he then dissolved into his heart. Then he set up his bodily posture and then demonstrated, if you want to do the power practice, so you have to do so with his body set up. So then he, from his crown, he emitted the the 5-colored rays of light, 5-colored rays of light in the size of the egg shape, in the size of the egg shape. So with this, he then passed away, right? So for example, like not only that, and also the great master like the Melon Doje, Melon Doje demonstrated that before he he collected, he gathered all the students, his students. Then he says, I'm now going to pass away. So with this, and then after the talk is done, talk offering is done, then he, shoot the the rays of light from his crown, and in the shape to the size of the pot, vase, and this vase, gradually, filling the entire space, with this he passed away, right? So this is, and then also, so this is how the power is performed, power is done, the someone who, the one who does the power, that should be qualified. Without qualified, to do the power practice, one will not able to do any, kind of power practice, the then, so this is another, way of, taking the birth in the Pure Land, through undertaking and performing the power practice, power practice. And then we have, and then we have, for example, now, we are in the, we may be in the intermediate state, what we call as Pardo, right? So we may be in the intermediate state Pardo. So in the Pardo, there is a way to get out from the Pardo and to take the birth in the Pure Land. So how it is done, right? Even in the Pardo, and even in the, even if one has already taken the birth in the lower land, it is also possible that one, one get out of from the lower land and take the birth in the Pure Land, right? So in the intermediate state, how the how one is able to take the birth in the Pure Land is by doing the purification practice. What is we call Jangwa, Jangwa purification practice. In this Jangwa practice, mostly, it's all about, purifying the negativities, the obscurations of the disease, disease, because it is through the obscurations that the person fall into the lower limb, right? Or, person maybe in the intermediate state or Pardo, right? So when we do this kind of, Jangwa practice, so in the Jangwa practice, what really happens is, we summon the qualified master. The qualified master summon the consciousness, the mind of the deceased, and then, enter into the, the heart of the deceased, heart of the deceased. And so by doing this, then this kind of, Jangwa and purification practice, then one is able to take the birth in the Pure Land, right? And then, and also it also works in, if somebody already passed away in the, pass away and already in the lower limb, has already taken the birth in the lower limb, this person can also take the birth, possible to take the birth in the Pure Land, through the power of the Jama practice, purification practice. So this is one way of doing, right? And then there is another way of doing, like uh, giving the empowerment for the deceased, but this is but it mostly comes from the Vajrayana teaching, Vajrayana. I mean, power practice, this the purification practice, all related with Vajrayana practice, tantric practice, right? Now, uh, in relating to the giving the empowerment for the dead person, so through this way, the negativities of the person is tremendously purified, greatly purified. Through this way, the person is again able to take the birth in the pure land. But however, we you know we have to understand that giving the empowerment for the disease is not carried so far. It is not done. It can be done, but no, not much. This kind of practice is done in the tradition, in the Vajrayana tradition, Tibetan tradition, right? So like this. So there are a few ways of taking the birth in the Sukhavati, or any kind of Buddha's pure land, right? So then, so then if we were to take the birth in the Pure Land, whether right after the breathing stop, or we are in the intermediate state, or we are maybe in the lower limb, or we are doing this, any kind of powerful prayers directed towards the deceased, right? So then the question may come, do we need to go through the intermediate state or pardo, right? So pardo. So for this, to take the birth in the Pure Land, although things are not clear, it's not clearly stated, I think, we don't need to go through the pardo, intermediate state, to take the birth in the Pure Land, right? Now, for example, right, we in this very life, we may have created the powerful merit, to take the birth in the Pure Land. So we store some positive and some karmic deeds, within our mind stream. Then at the point of dying, this karma is activated. When this karma is activated, then we are ready to take the birth in the Pure Land. We don't need to go through the the intermediate state. So and also when we do the poor as well, when we do the poor as well, in that case too, there's no need for the pardo, no need to go through the pardo to take the birth in the Pure Land. So right now, however, to take the birth in the Pure Land from the intermediate state, somebody have already taken the birth in the intermediate state, so that person can take the birth in the Pure Land, so as we discussed, that is done through the purification practice, Jama practice, right? Jama practice. And the one who does this kind of Jama practice should be very qualified, perfectly qualified. And that the most important thing is that the one who does this purification practice should be at least have some degree of compassion for the disease, and some positive thoughts, so positive thoughts towards the disease. So that is very, very important. And then to do the to do the ritual, purification ritual correctly and purely, so that it tremendously benefit the disease in the intermediate state. So then we may wonder, what really is a pardo? What is intermediate state? right?
Ben, may I stop you here for just a moment? Because you just mentioned something that maybe some of us are questioning because we're new to this. You mentioned there's a purification practice called Jengwa, right?
Mm.
And so when is that performed at the time of death? And how is that different than Fowa?
I see. Yeah, that's good question. Yeah. So, you know, so so first, the power is done. The power, there's some difference between the purification practice and the power practice, right? So when do we do the power practice? Power practice is done right after the when the breathing stops. When the person, dying person stops his or her breathing, then after that, then the power is done. We do not do the power practice before the breathing stop. Before the breathing stops. And then after after 1 or 2 days later, doing the power is not the right way of doing. And so in the case of the power, it also aims, the power teaching aims at, making the deceased person uh, consciousness, consciousness uh, led to the Pure Land. Deceased person to take the birth in the Pure Land. Now, when it comes to the purification practice, what is called as Jama practice, so again, this is very important to understand. Sometimes we have no idea, when somebody, once close ones, pass away, dies, what to do, so therefore it's very important to understand. So when the Jama practice mostly done in the first day of the week, first day of the week. So that's very important, because Jama practice is something very, it's a powerful practice. It This Jama practice or patient practice involves, purifying the purifying the negativities and the obscurations of the disease in the parto, right? And not only that, it also helps, the deceased person to take the birth in the Pure Land. So this purification practice, you can done this, because purification practices you can done according to the medicine Buddha in any kind of deity. One can do, one can do. For example, right now, the deceased person, right? The deceased person, when he was alive, when the deceased person was alive, the deceased person may be doing the, for example, like doing the Tara practice, or the deceased person may be doing the Tara practice. In which case, then purification practice can be done, uh, in relating to Tara, right? Or purification practice can be done relating to the Amitabha. If one practice Amitabha, you can do the purification practice according to the Amitabha. If you are practicing the Tara, you can do the purification practice according to the Tara, right? So there are different ways of doing the purification practice, right? So this is again, very very important to note, that purification practice is done in the first day of the week, right? I will tell you the reason why, right? So yeah, it is very very important to do uh, the purification practice we call Java in the first day of the week, right? And then yeah, now, so we already talked about Pardo, right? Intermediate state. So what really is Pardo? What really is Pardo? Uh, you know, uh, is it something new concept, or is it something new phenomena? No, right? Pardo is a state. Pardo is a state between after dying, after death, and taking rebirth, taking the rebirth. So this is a state between after dying and taking a new rebirth. So this is a state, mm, you know if anybody who is to take the birth in the desire realm, or he who is to take the birth in the form realm, should be go through the intermediate state or pardo, right? So now what is the nature of the pardo, right? So it is very important to understand the pardo, So the fullest understanding of Pardo can be gained only through Vajrayana teaching, Vajrayana practice, right? Vajrayana practice. Now, for example, right, we everybody sooner or later, have to say goodbye to this beautiful earth, beautiful earth. So at that point, what really happened is, uh, now according to Vajrayana teaching, all the dissolutions, dissolution takes place, the dissolution occurs, the mind, the so-called mind, and also the winds, all the minds and winds becomes much grosser, much subtler, right? Much subtler, and then finally we reach at the clear light mind. We reach to the point of clear light mind, right? All the conceptions, we talk about 80 different conceptual thoughts, all the 80 different conceptual thoughts are, ceased. And then the wisdom of the white appearance, with the wisdom of the white appearance, then we see the sunlight, moonlight, the moonlight during the summer night, it's autumn night, moonlight. Then after that we have the appearance of the wisdom of red increase. That is like sun setting. When the sun sets, how we see in the sky the same. We have this kind of vision. We will develop this kind of vision. Then we have the wisdom of the black near appearance. Black near appearance is almost like total darkness, like in the autumn. So then we are conscious, we are unconscious. Then as we come back from the unconscious state, we are in the clear light state. So that's the clear light, we are on the clear light mind. So we as ordinary people, we usually normally remain in that clear light state for 3 days. 3 days, okay, 3 days. But again, that is not the exact, it's a general speaking. General speaking, we remain in clear light state for 3 days. Then for some people, it may come early, the clear light mind can, manifest, maybe in 1 day or 2 days, who knows, Then maybe for some people, maybe remain for 4 or 5 weeks, 4 days, 5 days, Now, what is the clear sign that the clear light has left the body? A clear sign that the clear light mind has left the body is then we do see a tiny amount of blood from the nostril, and then or the something white, kind of like liquid, emitting from the lower opening. When one see this, now one is totally dead. Then there is no more clear light mind, already leaves the body. One is totally dead. At this point, the body begins to decompose, decays, start, right? So now, at that point, what really happened is, we are in the clear light mind, right? So we are in the clear light mind. Now, in the clear light mind, what really happened is, in every mind, in the Vajrayana explanation, in the Vajrayana understanding, every kinds of mind, there's a mounting wind. So similarly, when we are in the clear light state, there's a mounting wind. That wind is called life supporting wind, subtle life supporting wind. But these things cannot be, we can, see it in the microscope, These are very, very extremely subtle wind, that is called life supporting wind. So now clay light mine, we are on the clay light mine, for example, and then there's a mounting wind on the clay light mine. Now, what really happened is, then for the ordinary people, what really happened is when the clay light mine ceased, now clay light mine begin to leave the body. When the clay light mine ceased, instantly, right away, the one part of the wind, so life supporting wind, is becoming the Pardo body. Pardo body, actually. Now we are in the Pardo. That's extremely life supporting wind. The one part of the life supporting wind becomes the Pardo body. We have the Pardo body, right? So for the yogis, for the great practitioner of Vajrayana teachings, for the great practitioner, this life supporting wind, one part of the life supporting wind, become the illusory body. Illusory body. This illusory body now through training, now become the Buddha's body. But for us, we don't have, if we don't do the practice, we are in the intermediate state. We are in the Pardo. So this body, the body after we die is what is called as Pardo body, intermediate state body. Right? Now, what is the, once when we obtain the Pardo body, what are the features of the Pardo? What are the features of the Pardo being? The features of the Pardo being is, there are 5 characteristics, 5 features. One is the Pardo being is all the parts, limbs, is developed simultaneously. They have all the parts, However, they don't have blood. They don't have kind of, the blood like flesh we do have, because Pardo's body is very subtle, because it is the creation of the wind, subtle wind. Subtle wind. So Pardo body has all the parts, It's like if we, if you try to understand, better in a, dream body, what is dream body look like? Exactly, Pardo body is like this. Pardo body is same like the dream body. Sometimes we are dreaming, right? So Pardo body is same like dream body, right? It is the creation of the subtle mind and subtle wind, So then, yeah, it is a fully formed. All the parts are fully formed, Then Pardo body is also, unobstructed. Unobstructed. Unobstructed means, both Gaya, we know both Gaya, right? Both Gaya, and then all the blessed objects. If you consecrate the blessed objects, all the blessed objects, if we consecrate, so these blessed objects, and then the Pardo body is, Pardo being is going to take a rebirth. Who is going to, what parents the Pardo beings choose? Pardo being choose, So in mother's womb, So in these 3 things, Pardo being cannot travel, get how to say, get obstructed. Other than this, Pardo being can travel, between the mountains, can travel the metals, can travel the rocks. There's no obstruction. Even the Buddhas of the 10 directions cannot stop. Right? So this is unobstructive. Pardo's body is like unobstructive because it's not like, stable body, very, very subtle. So it's unobstructive. And then Pardo Buddha also possess some degree of clairvoyance or miraculous power, that they can fly, they can levitate the space, that they do have some degree of clairvoyance, right? And then the Pardo body is also, the smell eater. It is called smell eater. A smell eater. They cannot, enjoy the, the gross food. So what they do enjoy is the, only the, smoke. Sometimes we do the Sur offering, right? Sur offering. So that's why, this is what makes sense. When we do the sur offering, sur offering is also dedicated for the Pardo being, because Pardo being cannot enjoy the gross food that we do take while we are alive, right? And then the Pardo being is also that searching for the rebirth, searching for the birth. Pardo being is searching for the birth, right? Searching for the birth here and there. So in total, Pardo being stay in Pardo for 49 days. 49 days or 7 weeks. 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks and 7 weeks. So sometimes we do say that Pardo being can even even live more than 49 days, because there there's a one person who is said to have remain in the Pardo for 2 years and 3 months. So it's very possible to remain for that long, right? Now now what really is the appearance of the Pardo, what kind of the appearance Pardo beings goes through when we all go through the Pardo. So what kind of appearance? So therefore it is very important to understand the Pardo, intermediate state, the nature of the Pardo, the features of the Pardo, to understand all the power purification practice, all these things. Important to understand, if you want to make, Pardo something, really, one can make some, good practice in the Pardo, right? So what kind of appearance that the Pardo beings goes through? So the Pardo beings go through different kinds of, appearance and different kinds of hallucinations. Mostly Pardo beings are tormented, greatly tormented by hallucinations, and then also there are the one of the unique and important thing is that Pardo being have very clear mind, lucid mind, the clarity. There's a clarity of the mind of the Pardo being, right? So because of this, right? Now because of the clarity of the mind, if we really are, while we are alive, if we do a very good practice, Pardo being can remember, recall all the practice. But because of the lucidity nature of the Pardo being's mind, they are able to recall many of the events during the lifetime while they are alive, while they were alive. They can recall the the events, the moments, and remember very vividly, right? So therefore, and on the part of the Pardo being, the thing is that Pardo being never think he died. He's still alive. All the Pardo being think I'm alive, just like just while they like during uh, during the waking state. In the waking state, Pardo being always think I'm alive. Now check the example a dream. When in the dream, sometimes we are going through the hardship. Sometimes very joyful moments. Sometimes in the dream we are we dream of dying. Think all these things. But in the dream, we think we are okay. So similarly, Pardo being always thinks, oh, I'm alive. I'm alive. So with this reason, in the purification practice, I already told you that there's a purification practice. In this purification practice, there's a one part, there's a one part that teaches the Pardo being that you already passed away. You already passed away. That to talk about impermanent nature of the things, impermanent nature of the life. So that Pardo being come to understand, oh, I'm alive. Yeah, I'm no longer existed now. So the thing is that Pardo being try to try to uh, try to walk. When they walk, that it does not make any sound. And then they also try to see their own shadow. There's no shadow in the Pardo. They cannot see the shadow because in the Pardo being, as I said, there's no blood. There's no such things like we have, So it's a very subtle body. And then the most another unique thing is the Pardo being is a very unstable. The mental unstable, very clear mind, lucid mind, but instantly keep on thinking because now I'm in the suppose I am the Pardo being. I may think, oh, I want to go outside. The moment you think I want to go outside, you are outside. Wherever you think, wherever you want to go, the moment you think you are over there, it does not need any effort, right? It's effortless, right? And then, so, for the first week, so in the first week, perturbing most of the time, in most of the cases, perturbing, generally what, the person does, the person wake up, and then have some breakfast, and then maybe go to work, and then come back, In the first week, this kind of appearance arises in the perturbing. This kind of appearance arrives in the perturbing, right? So, for example, yes, perturbing does see his dead body, right? In some cases, I have, I have I have read the almost 12 or 13 biographies of the person who returned back from the intermediate state or from the lower limb. So in the case of the 3-person, in the all this happened in Tibet, Tibet. In the case of one person sees his body in the form of a snake on the bed. One person sees the rabbit, his body as a rabbit. One person sees the pig, right? So why they do see in such a way, right? So the why they do see in such a way is because now it relates to the animal sign. The person's animal sign is, for example, like pig, so the person sees the pig. Person's animal sign is rabbit, so the person sees the rabbit, rabbit. Then some god, god, the person can see the god like this. But again, this is not for all and everyone. Each person's different the different structure, different structure and different mentality, and different the karmic disposition, and the person can see in different ways, right? So, and and not only that, then the Buddha being sometimes sees the uh, sees the different colors. Sometimes they do see the different lights in the Pardo, in the middle state. Sometimes they are then see the like being being how to say being chased by wild animals. Sometimes they do see the things like the guardians, the different guardians. So all this all this now all these perceptions, all these visions, all these visions, according to the according to the Dzogchen teaching, Dzogchen, the great perfection, in the we call Tibetan Book of Death. According to Tibetan Book of Death, all this the visions are due to the manifestations of one's own mind, because some people they do see some lights in the different colors of lights, 5 rays of lights. So these lights are finally the manifestations of the 5 5 delusions. For the yogis, for the practitioners, highly advanced practitioners, these 5 rays of light are seen as the 5 Buddhas. For the ordinary being who is not trained, see the different colors of the light. Right. Now, in the new school, like in the new tradition, for example, like such a Giluk tradition, mostly we then do see, these are mainly these are mainly due to the power of the karma, negative karma, power of the negative karma. That's why the great master Shantideva says in his, chapter, 5th chapter, right? Who created all the piles of the fire? Who created all the, piles of fire, all the, burning, ground? Who created all this? And then Shantideva say, it's all due to the creation of the negative karma, right? So we, do say this. Then, so in the, and then sometimes, this kind of appearance, and sometimes, one is chased by the, one is, I mean, in the intermediate state, one is, constantly hallucinated, tormented by hallucination, different kinds of hallucinations, one after the another, sometimes in a state of, and then they try to, stay in one place, they try to hide, in the temple, the stupa, the monastery, like this, but can they remain in this hide for a long time? No, because of the unstability nature of their body, because these beings have wind body. Wind is something unstable, right? It keeps on moving. So similarly, they also cannot remain in one state, one place, one area. They keeps on moving. There's this place, that place, so many moving here and there, going everywhere, right? And then one is also, swept away by the, currents, river. Sometimes, one is the mountains falling upon them. Sometimes one is, engulfed in the fire. Sometimes the, kind of very different kinds of sounds, is being heard. So in this, situation, in these circumstances, if one really has, very good practice, this help, seeing that all these things are mere illusion. All these things are mere illusion. So therefore, in some of the practice, higher practice, there is a training, where we see when we in the dream, in the dream, when in the dream we are, we see the fire, we are burning fire, and then you jump into the fire. What you are jumping is, you are jumping into not the real fire, but you are jumping into the, illusion fire. You are, jumping into the, illusion river, right? So there are different kinds of, the practice to deal with, to deal smoothly with the appearance and the, the hallucinations and the visions of the pardo, intermediate state, right? So therefore, with this reason, so pardo being, because pardo being has mostly the vision and the appearance of his past life, I mean the past life, then because of this, that's why we do the purification practice. Purification practice does matter, because the pardo being has mostly the, the strong, the strong appearance, the strong, the mostly the strong appearance of the past life. So for that, during that practice, and then, we may wonder, how do pardo beings get liberated? How can we help the pardo beings? Right. Now, suppose somebody has, is that, we need to understand first. Now, after we pass away, first if I am to take the human rebirth again, if I am my next life, if I am to take the human rebirth again, first I take the birth in the pardo. That means my body is a pardo body, with a wind body. Then after in the pardo, each week, if they try to seek the new rebirth, if they do not get the new rebirth, then they die. In each week they die, and then each week they die, and then try to again seek the rebirth. Try to keep on seeking the rebirth, right? So in the pardo, now in the next life I'm going to take the human rebirth again. So that means first I have to take the human pardo again. Human pardo, I'm in the human pardo. Then in the human pardo, then I died, and then I'm taking the human rebirth again. Yeah. So that means I have to first go through the pardo. Without going through the pardo, you cannot take the human birth right away.
So on that point, then, um, apparently there's different stages, right? In Bardo. So are we going through the lower realms and then work our way up to the human realm in the Bardo state?
Yeah.
And then you take the rebirth, whatever, however many weeks it takes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I will clarify this. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, question. So now, for example, maybe I may take the rebirth as hungry ghost. If, for example, right now, before I take the hungry ghost, the real hungry ghost, first I need to go through the hungry ghost pardo. Hungry ghost pardo. So that means my body almost look like hungry ghost, but not the real hungry ghost. The exact hungry ghost, but almost in the shape of the hungry ghost pardo, hungry ghost pardo. And then in the hungry ghost pardo, I died, and then after I died, right away I'm but in a hungry ghost. Similarly, for example, I may take the example like next life, for example, the animal, first then I died, and then I'm in the animal pardo. So that means my body almost look like animal, right? And then that pardo, animal pardo, this animal pardo is a person, right? So that animal pardo die and then take the animal. If I take the birth as a god, first I need to go through the pardo. That means my body look like God, but not exactly, almost look like God. Then in the God pardo, I died and then take the God. So like this. Makes some sense.
Thank you for that clarification. But then how would you recognize which Bardo state you in before you actually die in that state?
Yeah, that's again a good question. So if one is take the bardo in the God, then you you move on the you move up, you are walking on the up, stay away like this. However, if you if you usually the bardo of the human being and the bardo of the mostly the favorable pardo, right? So they look like the cloud color. The cloud is the body is like cloud, white color. If one is going to take the rebirth like uh, uh, if one is going to take the rebirth like hell, then the pardo being does not walk. You go upside, a head on the ground and 2 feet on the up. Then the color is like a burnt log, black color.
So there are indications, there are signs that you have to look for. And if you practice well enough, then you would innately know what state you're in Bardo, and then to take rebirth in that state.
Yeah. So now, for example, I will give human Bardo, right? So sometimes, for example, in the for example, if one is going to take the bird as a worm, insects, then mostly, this Bardo being, attached to the smell, attached towards the smell, and this because of this smell, very nice smell, the craving becomes very strong. They draw closer and closer to this smell. When this smell, when they encounter with this smell, what really happens is there is actually no smell. The person that person dies and take the bird as a parto, take the bird as a insect. That's why if you try to understand, if we have some kind of if we have some kind of bowl, and we left some food, and then remain there for a few days, what happened during the very hot summer? All becomes worms. So that is part of being enters. further being enters and then take the birth in this, all these, full worms, right? Similarly, in the case of the hell, they so very, I mean, they feel cold. If one is to take the birth in the, hot hell, they feel very cold, and then, they attach more towards the hot, hot. And then when they begin to, approach to the hot place over there, what happens? There's no hot, then this make upset, then die, and then take the birth in the hot hell, right? So again, there's a human being, in the case of if one is going to take the birth in the place where Buddha's teaching has not been flourished, then that person, further being going to the very remote areas, right? So this kind of, some the indications, we state, now, now.
Before you move on, there's a question about karma. How much karma comes into play, whether you follow a certain thing, like whether you follow the heat and then you reborn in the hell. So how much of karma takes place during the barbaric state?
I see. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So then, so therefore, the dying person, when we talk about the dying person, it is very, very important to have the very peaceful, state of mind at the time of death. It is very, very extremely important. Do not make the person to develop a kind of like craving, to develop attachment, to develop strong, anger. So now here, at the point of dying, when the person develop anger, for example, anger, now within our mind, within our mental stream, consciousness, we call mind, mental stream, better you call mental continuum, right? In our mental continuum, because the mind goes one after the life after lifetime, so therefore it is called mental continuum, right? In our mental continuum, different kind of the limitless number of positive karma, limitless number of negative karma. All these positive karma, are all this positive karma are to take the rebirth in the favorable existence. There are limitless number of negative karma which are to take the rebirth in the lower limb. Now all this, there are limited number of positive karma and negative karma. So what really happens is, when the anger comes, when the anger develops at the time of dying, when the anger develops, out of many karma, out of many karma, one particular karma is activated. Now negative karma to take the birth in the lower realm. Out of many negative karma, one particular karma is activated, and because of this negative karma, then this negative karma is activated. Now we have, if you look into the 12 links of dependent origination, 12 links of the dependent origination, the 9 is craving. The next one is becoming. All these both of these are attachment, right? Attachment mental state. So attachment, so this attachment now activate, make this karma more stronger. Then when becoming, furthermore, the becoming further activate. Here you go. Then this karma become full blossom, and this karma then transformed into the mental state of what kind of unfavorable rebirth you are going to take. So this karma become consciousness, the mind of what individual rebirth, negative rebirth, unfavorable rebirth one is going to take. So this decides finally. Similarly, if one develop a very good faith, as I said, if we want to take the rebirth in the Pure Land, we develop a strong faith, strong devotion towards, particular Buddha, and also need to generalize, need to have the idea of what Pure Land really looks like. So when we develop this kind of thought, thought of faith, devotion, this with the arisal of this faith, then there are many there are many positive karma. Then one particular positive karma is activated. One positive karma or favorable rebirth, the karma of favorable rebirth is activated. So then next is again, the next is attachment. Attachment is becoming this activate further. So then this karma becomes very, very this karma to take the rebirth in the Pure Land becomes very, very strong. And the next moment, the mind become the consciousness, the mind then ready to take the birth in the Pure Land. You can understand some?
Yeah, it's very interesting. The way I visualize it when you were trying to explain is the negative karmic that you created in your life is like your baggage in Bardo stage. So if you want to go higher to the higher realm, to the Pure Land, you have to drop some of that negative karma, negative the baggages that kind of weigh you down, right? Otherwise, if you cannot drop it, then definitely you going down because of the gravity. Is that like for me that kind of how I see it? I don't know whether that helps people visualize it, but basically you just have a whole bunch of weight, right? The negative karmic are the weights that kind of pull you down. So you have to let it go. You got to drop all of that in order to go high for a higher rebirth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with powerful negative karma, with thick negative karma, it won't allow easily to travel to the Pure Land, right? So that's why we talk about the power. There's a general power. There's a general power. To familiarize with the positive thoughts, and also at the point of dying, before one is is sure that one is going to die, then whatever wealth one has, whatever kind of things one have to dedicate, to donate, so that make sure that you have not a single attachment, single craving to the things, so that it allows it creates the space. It creates a space to develop faith, in the Buddha's Pure Land. So this is how we are able to make travel to the Pure Land, to go to the Pure Land. So that's again very, very important. So without thick karma, no way, no way to go to Pure Land. One really needs a powerful karma, powerful positive karma to take the birth in the Pure Land, right? And then then in the first week, right? In the first week, we do the prayer, because the person is had a strong inclination, the strong appearance of the past life, right? What the person did, and that he can recall the events, right? So therefore, as I said, the person has the further beings has certain degree of clairvoyance. That person can read other people's mind, right? So now that's why in the first week, when we do the puja, when we do the rituals, even the family members has to to have the very pure mind for their loved ones who pass away, because the person can read other people's mind, what's going on in your mind. If we think about all the negative thing, and about that person, and try to try to talk badly about that person, yeah, this person can see each and everything, what you are doing, so therefore, now for example, right, we are doing puja. So sometimes when we do the 49 days puja, in the first week, all the family members should gather, all together, because it is the disease, who sees each and everything. So therefore, when we do the puja, Now, for example, right now, the person is in the human parto. Person is in the human parto. Now we do the very good puja, we do the purification puja, we do the sukhavati puja to take the birth in the pure land. What really happened? That person who is in the human pardo, because that person in his mind, he really developed a tremendous amount of faith and devotion, because those who doing the puja, doing very sincerely, very purely, he get delighted. He really get strong, develop a faith, when he developed a very strong faith and devotion, it helps him to die in the, it is possible that the person die in the human parto, and then that person goes to the pure land. This is one thing. Another thing is, now, now, for example, person is in the lower realm parto. Maybe a person is in the lower realm parto, or person has already taken the birth in the lower realm, animal or whatever, Hungry Ghost. Now, when we do the puja, correct, have a strong love for the ones, have a strong, kind of, compassionate attitude, a loving attitude to the deceased, to your loved ones who pass away. So if we do this, that person again, when we do the purity of the puja, that person really develops a faith and devotion. Because of the, right, this person, because of the purity of doing the puja, the purity of doing all the prayers, that person develop the devotion and faith due to the power of the prayers, develop faith, and then that person dies in the lower realm pardo, or hungry ghost pardo, and then that person dies in the lower realm pardo and take the birth in the favorable pardo, higher rebirth pardo, or the pardo of the favorable rebirth. Then in the favorable rebirth, the person dies and then take the birth either as a human being once again, or in the pure land. Some other study.
So what you're saying is that within the 7 weeks, right? Each week we die. That means we take a different bardo rebirth, correct? So let's say in the first week you die in the animal realm, right? But with the sincerity, purity of the prayer from the family members and prayers and puja, that person can still in the next week, right, rebirth in the higher realm, right? That's the second chance we're giving them.
Yeah. The person in the lower realm, for example, the animal pardo, right? Animal pardo, this animal pardo dies and take the birth through the power of the prayers, through the power of dedication prayers. That person dies in the pardo of the lower realm, and then take the pardo in the favorable realm. Then from the favorable realm, the person can either go to the pure land, or once again as a favorable rebirth like a human being. Make sense?
So then, let's say a person bardo die in the human realm. Can they stop that and say, okay, I'm in the right place. I don't want to, go through another 7 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, how many weeks I have left. Can they choose to stay and say, hey, I'm already reborn in the human realm. I don't want to go anymore. Can they do that?
To take rebirth again, as women?
To not take any.
I see. Okay.
Not go through the 7 weeks, right? Let's say you are in the right place at the human rebirth in the second week. There's 5 more weeks left. Can they choose not to go to the next step?
Yeah. The important thing is, because in the pardo we are our rebirth is due to the power of the karma delusion. We have no control. Because our birth is determined by the power of the karma and delusion. So therefore, it is this very reason that while we are alive, we have to do some, the practice. That's why I'm saying, this practice will help in the Pardo. Even for example, now deity practice, right? You should have some practice in a particular deity, the Tara, you should have Tara, if you are really a Tara in the purification practice. As I said, we do purification practice, and in the purification practice, there's a one practice called leading the deceased to the pure land. So if you do the while we are alive, when we do the Tara practice now, after the person dies, and then we know that person is very dedicated to Tara practice, and we, the person who does the practice, this purification practice, already know. Then we all try our best to make sure that the person takes the birth in the pure land at least. Otherwise, difficult. So therefore, while we are alive, we should have some, we should have some protector, some refuge that we can take, for example, Tara, for some people, Avalokiteshvara, for Amitabha, and then, yeah, this is important thing. And then, now here, and then, uh, you know, again, now somebody take the birth as in the animal or hungry ghost. Now person take already birth as hungry ghost. What we do? What can we do on our part? We are a human being, we are alive. But what can we do for that person who has already taken the birth in the animal realm or hungry ghost realm? The person who has taken the hungry ghost has what? Has the suffering of hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst. Now we need to remove that. We need to exhaust. We need to make exhaust the suffering of hunger and thirst. How are we going to do that? Right. So to do that, now again, that person need to create merit. Need to create merit, the antidote to pain and suffering, the pain and suffering of thirst and hunger. So for that person needs a tremendous amount of merit to exhaust. Now, how do we do that? Now, while we are alive, we do all the powerful prayers, the pujas for that person, and then because of the power of the prayers, power of the rituals, power of the pujas, the pain, the pain and suffering, is exhausted. The pain and suffering of the hunger, hunger ghost is exhausted. If the karma to experience pain and the karma to experience the hunger and thirst is exhausted, there is no reason for the person to remain as a hungry ghost, because there is no karma to experience the pain and to experience the hunger and thirst. So therefore, that person dies. That person dies and take a favorable birth again. Once again, that person dies and that person dies in the hungry ghost pardo and take the birth in the favorable pardo. And then from the favorable pardo, that person can take the birth in the pure land or once again as a human being. So this how the taking rebirth works.
So in Tibetan practice, I know that, and we do this to help people when we do the 7 weeks puja, for the person who passed away. And the first thing, and you're the one that taught me this. The first thing we do is we do the smoke offering, right?
Yeah.
So that helps with the hunger, and then the light offering. Immediately, we don't even have to wait until it's the first 7 days, right? We do it immediately when someone passed away. We do the smoke and the light offering. So hopefully that will give them some wisdom, and also to eliminate the suffering and the pain and being hungry, so that helps them elevate them to the next level.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this reminds, that's a good question again. So when that person, when somebody of your loved ones dies, so in the pardo. So therefore, sometimes we do the sur offering, smoke offering. That's called smoke offering. Sometimes, now somebody, your loved ones, pass away, what kind of breakfast the person is eating? Put the breakfast there, to put the breakfast, when the person is eating lunch, at what time, and all the people gathered, gathered. So put the food in that person, for that person, because if you don't put, that person feels sad. That person feels sad. Now, yeah, in the accounts of those who came back from life, from the pardo, they say, oh, somebody, they say, you know, first, they're expecting, and there's one lady who in the pardo, she's expecting to give some food. They didn't share the food. So, and then she tried to talk. Nobody responding. Then why they're upset over me? I didn't do anything. Why they share? Why they don't share food? And then at that point, there's one we call Duchen. Duchen means a meditator. There's one meditator. So meditator asks, the daughter, go and give your mother the food. So the mother food, because she see, her, dead body as a, dead body as a, something, dead body as the pig, I mean, the daughter get the food and leave it near the, her body, which she see her as a dog, then she get upset. Why she is leaving my, the food to the dog, the dog, the pig, So at that time, she lost all her respect to the daughter. And then, and yeah, at that one point, then what did, that Gomchen or, meditator, what he did is, then he put, food for her on a plate. And then with this food, he, he light and make sure that some smoke come out of the food. So this, then she says she feels satisfied. Later, after, she, clearly, vividly remember all the, the experience that she went through the parto. Yeah, she said, she feels satisfied because she, was feeling very thirsty and hungry. So therefore, whatever, we do, the person when he was alive, or he or she was alive, whatever, person takes the food, just, just put it as usual. Whether the person is able to eat or not is a different story, but not to make sure that person don't feel hurt of the further being.
So this brings up a question that actually happened recently. I know a lot of Vietnamese Buddhists, when someone passed away in their family, there's the offering of food that we do every week. But if the person, when he's or she's alive, they eat meat, right? And so when they pass away, the family thinks, oh, I'm not going to add to their negative karma by feeding them food, meat, and so they tend to do vegetarian food offering. But this person, when he or she's alive, they love meat. So what is the right way? Do you offer vegetarian food when they pass away, so that they are not creating the negative karma, or should we offer something that they enjoy when they're alive?
That's again, yeah, another interesting question. Yeah. So for this, generally speaking, generally speaking, it doesn't matter, whether the person is, just eating, whatever, whatever food that she is, he or she is, eating, just leave that food, prepare that food. However, the most important thing is to do the sur, the real sur offering, sur offering. If you provide the, as I said, if you provide the normal food that, we cannot expect that person to, eat. That person cannot eat because that's of gross food. There's no way that the person can eat the gross food. They have very subtle body, wind body. they cannot digest all this food, So, but the reason why we are offering, this kind of food every day, the breakfast, the lunch, and the dinner, whatever kind of food, to make sure that the person does not feel hurt, sometimes the person feel, oh, they all share, yeah, this really happened, this really happened. I don't want to tell the story, they don't provide me, now they even don't talk to me. Now they're going to the extent that they don't talk over me. So this kind of hallucinations, Prabhupada being tormented by this kind of hallucinations. So therefore, regardless of what kind of food we offer, it doesn't matter. But the most important thing is that we do offer the Sur offering, because in the Bhardo, as I said, sometimes Bhardo beings, feels very hungry, very thirsty, if the person, while the person is alive, if that person really led a meaningful life, very, virtuous life, to do some dharma practice, in the Bhardo, it look, they really have less problem, less suffering, less pain. And then while one is alive, do not do much practice, do not do, good things, then looks more miserable, pain and suffering in the Bhardo, right? So like this. So now the point is, we need to really make sure that, the person really, need to make sure that, the person to take a good and favorable rebirth, to have the purity of the mind, to have the purity of the mind. Because again, if we, and also, one thing I want to add is, don't, when the loved ones or, the one's close one is died, don't try to cry. You may wonder why. Don't try to, based on the accounts of the two real Bhardo, they have the, they have the vision, because although they think, they are wearing the clothes, mostly the Bhardo being are naked, so they, when they cried, what really happened is they have the vision, the appearance that the thunderstorm, the hailstorm of blood and pus coming down and puncturing their body, so painful, puncturing and hammering their body. So when you stop crying, they immediately stop. Whether this is real or not, or whether this is real or hallucination, is a different story. That's a total different story. But however, don't try to cry. Of course, it's understandable, crying, but then it's also not good, crying. And that's the, and then when we do the puja and prayers, and do it with very, compassionate, loving attitude for the deceased. Because, however, if we do the, prayer with not, distracted here and there, not serious, doing, just, all the prayers, doing all the shortcut, not that serious, Bhardo being get upset, get upset and annoyed. When they get annoyed and upset, it really harming the deceased. When the deceased, because of this, the deceased person die and take the rebirth in the lower realm. This happens. Because what really causes the person to take a rebirth is the negative thought, negative mind. So this is what exactly is happening, Because as I said, other beings can read the people's mind, have certain degree of clairvoyance, very, crystal mind, very lucid mind. Although regardless of, unstable and instability of the mind, but very vivid, very, clear mind. They can read others' mind. So if we develop while doing all the prayers, all the family members come together doing all the prayers, if we have some negative thought, it is not benefiting for the deceased. It is more harming. The person then develop, oh, this person's not serious and not doing, puja, puja, or, for my, dedication prayer, not doing well, person lost hope, get upset, and this upset, cause him to die, and then die, and then take the rebirth in the lower limbs. So these things are in somewhat very, very important to understand, If we understand, then we know how to do. If we don't understand, then we don't know how to do, right? In a correct way. So before one come to implement these things, first need to have the very, correct understanding, right way of understanding is very, very important,
So then one of the questions that we have is, you said we do forward the moment someone's breathing stops, right? How do we know whether that forward is effective, whether that have done its job to send send that person to Pure Land? And if it doesn't work, how can we verify?
Generally speaking, power, the one who does the power, of course, that person should have, some experience of power, should have some experience, should have really some good experience, that person is, able to, that person is really convinced that when that person dies, I can do power. If that person himself, not convinced, not able to do, there's simply no room for leading other people to the Pure Land. So therefore, uh, the best qualification, on the part of the one who does the power is to have the very good experience, for himself, for himself. And then if that is not available, then, at least that person also should have received the instruction on power and received the empowerment of the power. One need to have this kind of at least qualification, So therefore, if you ask, somebody, if that person haven't received, instruction or they say that, empowerment of power, they don't do, if you go, serious, so somebody who really have received the empowerment of power and also, to receive the power instruction. I mean, anybody cannot do the power. Of course, one need to have received the empowerment and receive the instruction on the power. So then, yeah, it makes, difference, to able to lead up, the other person to the power. Like, generally speaking, we have no, who knows, we cannot read other people's mind. When that person is able to send, somebody to the Pure Land, we cannot read, the mind of the other person. Right now, these days also, they are not, there are many, there are not many, the great masters, who displayed, as I told the story, doing all the power, right? For example, in the case of now, for example, like Milarepa, Lama Milarepa, one time, there's one guy who's the practitioner of Pombo, ancestor religion Pombo. So he, this is a long story. I don't go into all the details. I just talk a little bit. So there's one Pombo who died and take the rebirth as a worm. Worm, a long worm on the other side, on the other side, on the other on the other side. So one time, the group of people came and asked Milarepa, Milarepa, did you see the deceased person? Did you see the Pardo? Milarepa said, no, I haven't seen. I didn't see the Pardo and the deceased Pardo. Then, but he has already taken the birth as a worm, worm, a long size worm. On the other side, he was hiding under the cow dung. Then other people, then said, let's go and check if it is real. Right. So because most of the people, at that time they follow the, burn. So they all went over there, other side. So then Milarepa, seated, and then he's, he say, I'm your teacher, Milarepa, come here. And then this, worm slowly come, and it climb on the Milarepa's lap, and Milarepa's lap, Venerable said. Then Venerable gave the poor instruction, poor teaching, and then that worm died. That worm died, and from the body of the dead worm, light rays come. Light rays come, and this light rays dissolve into the Milarepa's heart. Then from the Milarepa's heart, he emit the rays of light in the form of white shot ah, white shot ah. It descended into the Pure Land. In this case, we can almost guarantee, right, that person really can do. And then again, Milarepa's, Milarepa's sister, uh, her name Pedagongi. Pedagongi, then sometimes she looked like, a little bit jealous, Then Pedagongi said to Milarepa, "Oh, my brother, you are trying to do the, a poor for other people. Why you don't do the poor for a mother who must be in the hell?" Then what he did is, then he closed his eyes and then he meditate, and then all of a sudden, nowhere, white should arise, and then it slowly disappear in the space. So this is his mother's consciousness in the form of white shura. So that means Milarepa has, Milarepa has dispatched his mother and the worm to the Pure Land. So this is power. So the real power look like this, But these days we don't know who has, realization, But at least these are the qualifications, But if some people, really demonstrated these things, with our naked eyes, then we believe, right? Otherwise, difficult to judge,
Yeah, that's one thing I know. A lot of us, in our effort, wanted to help our loved ones when they pass away. We study forward from some master with the hope that it will, we can perform this. But it's really your merits and your practice is what determines whether you can perform this or not, right?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, in order to do for the power for oneself, you have to first you do the practice by yourself, and you can also able to do the power for others, So actually, yeah, that again, there are different kinds of power practice. You can, um, uh, one can do the power practice relating to the Tara. One can do the power practice relating to the Amitabha, Matriya, Buddha Matriya, Manjushri, Buddha Matriya, yeah, and then Vajrayogini, Goya Samaja, Charasamara, so many Buddhas.
Then there's a lot of questions, but I think we have to end here. So let's do dedication, and we will answer these questions next week.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I will, yeah, stop here. Yeah, thank you for coming, joining the class. Oh, Yawadi, and you do that. One second, to get into a chicken, Malibati, Sala Yawacho. Chanjo Sanjo Ramboje, Magibana Kiji, Kawanya, Bamagaya, on the Pava show, and the Tower Ramboje, Magibana Kiji, Kawanya, Bamagaya. On the Pava show, means everything Nigeria set to make in the Umojame, Kanji Kevin to get the love. Los Antawe, Shabla, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Ben.
for
It's very
joining the
good
class.
information. Yes, very useful. Thank you so much. Dạ, mọi người có thể mute để cảm ơn thầy. Mọi người có mở mic được không ạ?
Thầy tên là gì đấy? Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.